welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on each volume. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we will be covering the first part of Volume 59, The Death of Portgas the Ace, which covers chapters 574 through 579. I'll be your host. My name is Joel, and joining me today we have Sean.
This is Sean.
We have Evan.
This is Evan.
And we have Cody.
The what of who? The fuck am I? What? Sorry, I didn't mean to swear that earlier. It's just like, it doesn't do death. That's not how the story works. That's not how this works.
That's not how this works.
That has to be a metaphor, right? We'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll see what that means.
This is Cody, by the way. I'm back. Derailing the podcast. Let's go.
It only took 30 seconds, so that was a probably record. Yeah, so that is the actual title of the volume. So leading into this episode from the last volume, I abbreviate to just Portgas the Ace to not try to, bring that moment up too soon. Mm-hmm. We will get into it very, very briefly, but now that we're here, that is the actual title of the volume. Yeah, so this is a big one, as you can probably guess from what we're talking about here, just from the title of the volume. But before we do start diving into what I would say is probably like the biggest series of chapters we've covered, like in one chunk, possibly the entire series. This is a big one. But let me just give a little overview for where we left off so we can get back up to speed. After getting a second wind, or is it a third wind, Luffy proved he was still in this fight by displaying Haki of the Supreme King, gaining the confidence of Whitebeard and his crew. As Luffy charged towards Ace, Garp stood in his way, though he didn't seem to put up much of a fight against his grandson. Luffy reached Ace on the platform with the key Boa gave him. Before he could unlock Ace's shackles, he threw a shot of beam to destroy it. Fortunately, Mr. 3 was in disguise as one of the executioners. While in free fall from the Navy destroying the platform, Mr. 3 was able to produce a wax key, freeing Ace. With Ace now free, the Whitebeard pirates were able to start making their escape with their comrade. Luffy's fatigue finally caught up with him, along with Admiral Akainu. Akainu was not about to let the pirates escape, so he launched a magma fist at the defenseless Luffy. Ace jumped in the way of the attack, shielding Luffy, who was shocked to see the fist punch through Ace's stomach.
Brutal.
What a cliffhanger.
But it's a classic through and through, so he's got to be fine.
Yeah. We've seen it before.
All right. But let's get into the chapter so we can see what happens here. Chapter 574, The Death of Portgas the Ace. Everyone is stunned to see Ace has been hit with a fatal blow. Akainu attempts to finish Ace off, but Jinbei intervenes, willing to sacrifice himself if it means buying the others precious few seconds. Sengoku holds Garp down, who is no longer able to contain his rage, threatening to kill Sakazuki himself. As Luffy holds Ace, he apologizes to his little brother for failing to let himself be saved by him. He's sorry that he isn't able to see Luffy fulfill his dreams, but he knows he can do it. With tears in his eyes, he thanks Luffy for loving him, then falls to the ground with a smile on his face. Luffy begins to shut down, crying, as Ace's Viver card disappears.
Evan first.
Gotta start with Evan.
Yeah. My heart is breaking through this entire chapter. And I think with the Viver card, this death feels more real than anything we've experienced in the past. I feel like I was holding out hope throughout this chapter, but yeah, this is heart-wrenching. And seeing everyone's reaction, seeing Garp's reaction, like Garp's trying to step in. Garp's lost it. He can't control himself. Yeah, this is brutal. Heart-wrenching. There's no other way to put it.
Yep. Up until current chapters, Ace has not come back to life. He is dead. We are confident.
Oh,
he is
yeah.
fully 100%
Right.
dead.
This is not the will of P. This
Yeah.
is
There is
Yeah.
no like this is a final death. Like
Mm.
yeah. He's gone, and it's heart-wrenching. Luffy's emotional shutdown is just devastating. He's been defeated before. He's been defeated by Crocodile. He's been defeated by Magellan. He's been defeated. He has never been more defeated than this moment. Even when he was like dying in the sand of Alabasta, there was still more hope in his heart than there is right now.
Yeah, we haven't seen this before.
There's nothing there anymore. He's an empty shell.
I think even when when Usopp leaves the crew and he has to fight Usopp, even when he loses the whole crew at Sabaody, which has just been like the start of this series of L's for Luffy, which I think the one thing I would have said about last volume if I was here was how, it's not fun to see Luffy taking L's and being completely outclassed, but it said a lot for him to keep having to deal with that. But just emotionally, physically, like he has not gone through anything like this. And like just the fact that the permanence of Ace's death, I remember when this chapter came out, and it was just the spoilers. It was just the only thing we knew was the title. The sheer amount of people saying there's no way Ace actually dies. Oda doesn't do death outside of flashback. No, and this is what I was like referring to in my opening comment. Like there are comments saying no, it's a metaphorical death. He's gonna accept himself as like Gold D Ace and like all of this stuff because like this is just so out of left field for Oda to actually kill off a major character in the present. This is, and not to take away from the emotional aspect of it, like with the narrative meta stuff. It just works on both levels. It's just that it's as shocking to us as it is to Luffy. Because the way Oda has set this up.
Yeah. And there is a joke where people say nobody dies in One Piece, and that it does come like a meme after a certain point, but at the same time, I think that just makes us hit even harder because we're so used to like being like, okay, Oda's going to find a way to save this character. Luffy is, he's in control of the situation. He's going to find a way to come through. So we're not used to seeing Luffy fail, especially to this degree. This is something that like he can't undo. So yeah, it's really hard, especially after all the build up to this. This has been set up since Drum Kingdom. So this is now like a through line that we've seen since then, and in particular since the end of Throw a Bark kind of set this off into motion too. But like Luffy's involvement was like through Amazon Lily, Impel Down, and now this arc. There's been so much time dedicated to this specific moment, and to see that all of that work that Luffy put into this and his dedication and his hard work, his determination, all of that did not get him to the point where he was able to actually save Ace like we would expect him to. So you would think after all that Oda put into that story, like there's no way he can fail. But this is why this is like such like a commitment to Oda. I think it's bold for him to go through with it, and I do think it makes the story rewarding in a different way, where now we have a completely different experience for the series, and we haven't had anything quite like this before.
Yeah, it was hard to swallow. Like I said, I feel like I was optimistic even through this chapter, just be like trying to stay optimistic and trying to be like, nope, Ace is going to pull through. He's going to survive this. Yeah, like you said, it makes it all that much more shocking.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think, one of the biggest spoilers in One Piece. So I'm glad that we were able to get to this point without this moment being ruined for you, because I think a lot of people will have it get ruined. So if you go on Google and you try to search like Portgas the Ace, and it would be like, when does Portgas the Ace die? So it's going to be like, it's hard to avoid the spoilers because like that's the kind of stuff you find on like Google. So I'm glad that we're able to preserve this for you. And leading up to it, Sean and I were trying to be very cautious to not let on too much. And Cody was on before, but the last few chapters kind of leading up to this, Sean and I in particular have been trying to like kind of thread the needle a little bit, so that way we can try not to very like basically try not to like make this too obvious for you, because we wanted to kind of leave that moment up in the air. because we were kind of saying how like this war has been back and forth, and like it seems like there's like definitely like the sides will shift as to who seems to be winning the war. So I think that makes it unpredictable in that way, where we don't know the outcome, and the way that this happens, I think, is just very shocking. But what do you guys actually feel about the interaction with Luffy and Ace? Because they do have this touching moment. So what do you guys feel about that?
I think Oda's done it again. I feel like he does such a good job of like tying these flashbacks in with the current action that's happening, and kind of like building up those words with these really touching moments from their childhood, or like these moments of them, just becoming brothers here, or being
Yeah.
brothers, being family, and just showing that connection, which makes all of the words that they're saying in the present that much more meaningful. We get mention of Dadan and Sabo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I believe that's a new name that maybe has been referenced but hasn't really been introduced. But it sounds like people from their past that they shared together.
Yeah, so the Don's come up before, but Sabo's a new name. We haven't heard that one yet. Yeah, so Ace just mentions the name Sabo. He like just says it kind of like very casually, but we don't know who this Sabo character is. But yeah, I just think that there is this beautiful moment too, because Ace is taking his last moments to think back on his life, and he wants to thank the people that made him feel like his life was worth it. Because this whole time he's been thinking about, did he deserve to live, and would it have been better if he just died? And he had a lot of complex emotions, and he was kind of struggling, like whether or not he wanted to live anymore. And he decided he did. But at the end here, he decides that he wants to express that gratitude. And just like the moment where he says, like, "Yeah, thank you for loving me." That I think that goes to a lot of like the Whitebeard pirates too, but Luffy in particular. He has a family member that he can be close to, and this is the end of the road for Ace, but he knows that Luffy has bigger things ahead of him. So he's kind of cheering his brother on here, where previously, like when they first met in Alabasta, he was like, sorry, but Whitebeard's gonna be the king of the pirates. Better luck next time, Luffy. But now we have like a very different moment where he's kind of a bit more real with them, where he's like, no, I think you can do it. So that's how Ace decides to spend his last few moments. I think it's really heartwarming.
It's just so nice seeing a character who was, it's just he's the big brother. He's the coolest guy ever. He's the guy who's always going to be stronger. He's the guy who's always going to, be the one protecting Luffy. Just be so vulnerable, and just acknowledging that Luffy was such a big part of him being able to keep living and live through life. That is the one win Luffy is able to take here, even though he can't experience it as that in the moment. That's just one of my favorite things about One Piece. It's so beautiful.
To step off of Ace's passing, this central part of Ace's passing, just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
This Garp moment is perhaps my favorite Garp moment of all time.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
If you don't like, if you don't keep me held down, I'm gonna murder him. Like, and like I still believe Oda has said if Garp would have killed him if he had not been held down or something. But we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
But like he was that Garp, like, I don't know, it's crazy. He means what he's saying right now. Like he would have just straight up killed another admiral. And it's so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after exhibiting a lot of restraint up to this point, he's been very careful about not stepping over the line because he knows the position that he's in. But this is like now in the moment, now that's happening, like he realizes that he can't really hold back anymore. He was trying to be like impartial, and he understood the situation, but like the emotions just get the better of him here. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is I do think that there's a really nice touch here where the very moment where we see Ace officially pass, we see there's two panels in the upper left corner after he thanks Luffy for loving him. where he has like a frown face and he smiles.
Hmm.
So it mimics the smiley faces on his hat. So like
Oh,
so it's almost like a foreshadow.
Yeah.
Very subtle touch, but
interesting.
but
I
yeah,
was thinking
it's
Will of Deep,
also-
but that's a really good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that it's the smile that he ends on, not the frown.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he realizes that like he really got what he wanted was that confirmation that his life was worth it. Yeah, so that is a big moment in the series. But did you guys have any other thoughts you want to get out about this?
It's
I-
it's a cataclysmic shift for the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's not been a death like this in the
It
series
it
to date.
it breaks the unwritten rule so hard that it's like, well, I guess even if he never kills anybody else off after this, you'll never quite be sure. Like, and it
Yeah.
really sticks with you.
Yeah.
100% agree. I'd like, and even from that first spread, just the amount of shock from every party involved. Even we know Garp has a personal connection to this, but even Kuzan is taken aback by this, and whether that is the manner in which Sakazuki's doing it, whether it's just the fact that it escalated to this point, it's just such a huge development.
Even Buggy is
Yeah.
shocked.
Even
Yeah.
Buggy is shocked.
Okay. Yeah, so how about we move on to chapter 575, Voiceless Rage. The world is shocked to see that Portgas the Ace is dead. Taking advantage of Luffy's state, Akainu attempts to finish off the second brother. Once again, Jinbei intervenes, grabbing Luffy while Marco holds back the Admiral. Whitebeard comes from behind, smashing Akainu to the ground. Akainu retaliates, taking off half of Whitebeard's face. With nothing to lose at this point, Whitebeard unleashes a massive quake that destroys the Navy headquarters and splits the ground, separating the rest of the pirates from the Navy and Whitebeard. During the commotion, the Blackbeard pirates had arrived at some point, but were spotted as they watched the battle. Now, with a few new crew members, Teach laughs as he tells Whitebeard that he's here to watch him die.
Whitebeard! Fuck yes!
Dad.
This is an example, just going to point out quickly. It's not, I don't want to be super negative right now, but just the anime really fails this moment because they don't blow off half of Whitebeard's face.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Just the mustache.
that visual thing, yeah, just the mustache gets it's like, okay. Like the fact that he's just missing half of like a quarter of his brain, presumably. They're just like, nah, he's gonna keep going. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah. I was gonna mention that too. Yeah.
That panel is insane.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that panel is absolutely wild
Crazy.
and devastating because it's like I think at that moment I was like, "There's no way, but he keeps on fighting.
Yeah.
He's unrestrained now.
he's clearly out for the count too, right? And nope, he's still going.
Now he's still going.
This is a Whitebeard again that has been stabbed, shot, a billion other things done to him at this point. He is clearly on his last legs, and he still just absolutely just sends Sakazuki to the ground, just bleeding from the mouth and nose. And it's just like, and you can see like Akainu Sakazuki just being like, "Fuck, I may have lit my last match here, guys."
Yeah, it's like interesting because like the cover also kind of shows. It's like if you don't really look at it too closely, you probably won't notice. But once you do now, I think it's like hard to miss. Because like the cover shows his face in that condition too.
Yep.
So again, don't look at the covers too closely sometimes.
This is true.
Also, the Whitebeard is
Sorry, keep going.
No, I was gonna say it's Whitebeard is not only emotionally honoring his son by trying to enact his own justice against Sakazuki, but also splits the entire plaza, separating the rest of the pirates, protecting his sons, saying you have done what you need to for this family. You didn't even need to, you chose to, but now I'm going to make sure that you I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure you won't get harmed, and I'm taking this into my hands as your father now.
Yeah.
Just we love Edward Dadbeard. What a guy. What a guy. So cool. He's so cool.
Yeah, and then we also have this other development here where the Blackbeard pirates show up.
I was wondering when they'd show their faces.
Mhm.
Some new faces,
Some new ones too. So yeah, Blackbeard's been busy.
clearly.
Evan, did you have any thoughts on what Blackbeard was up to? Or are you just like, no idea, this is insane?
I do think I had some idea that I mentioned in the last arc, but not to this extent. And we'll get to it when his plot is revealed. But I had hints, but not to this extent, which we'll talk about when we get there.
Yeah, I think you did pretty much call that he was trying to gather some new crewmates.
Yeah,
So I think you're picking up on that.
I think he made that clear in the previous arc that he was amassing a crew, a selected crew. So
yeah, not just Cheerios.
We're seeing some of the new selections. It looks like.
I do like this moment too, where it's like all this commotion is going on in the middle of everything. Like, hey, what's that over there? And then we see like this giant person from like behind the building. Like, oops! Oh, you found me. So it's kind of like ominous too, because like I was like, what is going on over there? Like, because like he's kind of like there's like this fog going on, and it's like we can't really see too well. And then like all of a sudden like this giant pops out from out of nowhere, and then the rest of the Blackbeard pirates kind of make themselves visible. And you can tell they're not up to any good here. So it's another wrench in this plan.
Yeah. It's showing up at a very pivotal point. Yeah, it's in my notes. It wasn't until this chapter that I actually wrote down like, wow, Ace, it seems like Ace is really dead. Like I honestly was still holding out after last chapter into this chapter to see if that would turn around, but alas.
Yeah, it's tough to accept. Yeah, like I was saying, I do think, the fact that Oda committed to that, and now we're seeing kind of like the aftershocks of that event. We're gonna see how that kind of affects things a little bit further here.
Yeah.
Jinbei though also being kind of MVP here, saving Luffy. Yeah, because now Luffy's he's out of commission. So after all the odds he overcame, now he's just shut down. So yeah, luckily Jinbei is there to to help out Luffy, because otherwise we would have Luffy in the same state as Ace if it wasn't for Jinbei.
Yep. It's like Sean said last chapter, like you can really tell Luffy is just a husk. Like he's completely out of it.
Yeah.
At the risk of bringing up TV tropes once again, this is a textbook example of the heroic blue screen of death. This is just an example, just mental, physical shutdown. Character is like, nah, I'm done. Like, I may not say that I'm done, but it's over. Like, I'm done. It's over.
Yep. Yeah, no one's home right now. All right, you guys good to move on to the next one?
Good to go.
Okay, let's get into it. Chapter 576, The Great Pirate Edward Newgate. Members of the Navy are surprised to see that Blackbeard's new recruits are some of the world's most dangerous criminals that were all prisoners on death row in the Impel Down, including the former jailer, Shiryu. Lafitte had hypnotized one of the Navy soldiers earlier to allow their ship to pass through the gates of justice. Sengoku realizes that releasing these strong pirates was part of Teach's plan to become a warlord all along, though there is more to come. Newgate has his own Blackbeard as one of his sons, now swears vengeance. The Blackbeard can negate Newgate's powers. The Emperor surprises him with a slash to the shoulder and slams him to the ground. Feeling threatened, Blackbeard orders the rest of his crew to gang up on Newgate. The entire crew unleashes a flurry of gunshots and slashes. Newgate thinks back to a conversation he had with Roger about the initial D, pointing out that Teach had one in his name, and asked him about it. Whatever Roger told Newgate in the past has led him to conclude that Teach is not the one Roger was waiting for. Whitebeard announces that someone will inherit Roger's will that has been passed down since ancient times. Someday, someone will find the treasure, which will turn the world upside down and cause a great war, as Navy fears what this will bring. As the world watches from the transponder snail, Whitebeard declares that the One Piece is real. Still standing, Whitebeard passes after suffering 465 wounds in total, not one of them on his back.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
Can we get much higher? So high, so high. Sorry.
Yeah, so since we're already talking about it, yeah, Evan, I'm not sure if you've heard of this meme, but yeah, this is a meme, and there are times somebody, I don't remember who, had mentioned like the One Piece is real, as like a joke, because it is a meme that's come up. So you might notice it going forward, but yeah, it has become a meme over the years with the music. There's more to it, but I'm not gonna go into it.
I gotta share it.
There is someone paid one of the actors from Better Call Saul, completely unrelated at all to any of this, to do the meme, and he's clearly baffled by it. He doesn't understand it, but he's like, "Sure, okay, I'll do it." He goes, "The One Piece is real," and it's just it's become an iconic thing. It's like...
Okay. So yeah, with that out of the way, so we have another death. Just when we were still processing the last one, now we have another one. Since it's Evan's first time through the series, I do once again want to get Evan's reactions here.
Yeah, I was pretty floored, but I definitely saw this one coming. Less so with Ace's death. I feel like I said in the last chapter, when you see Whitebeard lose half of his face and kind of separate himself from the rest of the pirates, and it definitely feels like a sacrificial moment where he'd already sealed his fate, I think, in the last chapter. But it's pretty wild to see him here, like really going out with a bang, and the fact that he wouldn't fall, even in death, that he wouldn't fall, is pretty befitting of the man that is Whitebeard. Like, pretty epic.
It makes a statement.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And again, the One Piece does exist as like verbal war on the Navy here. That might have been the biggest blow that he dealt this whole war, are his final words, because they're being televised, and they also kind of echo Roger's last words.
This is, I think, a deliberate. Okay, like we got. It's like the army, the government was like, Roger's words set us back forever. But maybe we're finally able to recover from his parting words. Maybe we'll finally be able to clamp down on the pirate era. Maybe things will finally calm down. The One Piece broadcast to the whole world. They're like, fuck! Here we go again! God damn.
Yeah, so this is a very deliberate statement that he makes, which, because up to this point, we've seen other people even not believe that the One Piece exists. Because we go back to Jaya. We've had people make fun of Luffy for believing the myth of the One Piece. So that was something that Luffy and Blackbeard had bonded over, because they both believe that the One Piece exists. Now we have Roger's peer definitively state that it's real. This is again just somebody else saying it, so you could argue that maybe that this isn't confirmation, but I think this is as close as you're going to get to confirmation this day and age, that somebody of Whitebeard's stature stating this. I think it's a strong argument that this is legit. And also, one thing to note is Luffy is not conscious during this moment. So this is not registering to him. So he wouldn't want to know this information. Going back to, again, the conversation at Shaki's, where Luffy's like, I don't want to know anything. I don't know. I want to know if it's real, if it's there. I just want to have the adventure. So yeah, so it's a good thing that Luffy doesn't hear this because he doesn't want to know that information. I just wanted to note that here too.
I don't think he would have, in this hypothetical world, given up on being a pirate upon hearing this, but he would have been annoyed.
I don't know.
Uh,
Did you guys also get Zoro vibes from the moment where it revealed that Newgate had no wounds on his back?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like when Zoro says "scars on the back" or "swords in shame," and he puts his arms out.
Big time.
It is like I get what the metaphor, not the metaphor, but like the symbolism of, but it's like calling it a coward's wound. It's like if I get ambushed and stabbed in the back, I'm a coward. Like, I don't know. Like, it's more like I am so powerful that no one could ever possibly ambush me. But it's like,
Which more like he never made an attempt to run away.
the idea is that he never made an attempt to run away. I get that, but it's like,
Yeah.
man, if somebody just like shanks me in the back and I didn't see it coming, I'm a coward. All right. It's fine.
Well, there was also that deliberate moment too, where like the Whitebeard pirates protected his back too.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I also wonder if there's like a localization aspect of it as well.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Again, I'm being a silly Billy, but
Well, you know, those things can they can add up. They can add up. So you know, be silly, Billy.
I love Whitebeard's speech to teach like, you ain't him, buddy. You ain't you ain't the man. You ain't it. Whatever you're doing today ain't worth jack shit. You are not the one that the king was waiting for. It's great.
Yeah, so we get more hints as like the Will of D, but not any real more answers for it. But we do get some hints. Is that what you're gonna say, Evan?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Just kind of a little bit more hinting on like the lineage and, you know, the almost like a chosen successor kind of hinting,
But very
teaching
curious.
it.
Roger tells him what the D means apparently a long time ago, and that's all we get.
Yep. Very mysterious. Also, no longer mysterious are Teach's plans, which we do kind of get fleshed out in this chapter of him never really only pursuing becoming a warlord so that essentially he could get the access that he needed to build his own group and then immediately disassociate with the warlords.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like it kind of like he almost kind of set up this whole war in a way, like capturing Ace to get in with the warlords.
He's like the Oda of evil plans.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, totally. Like, and then using that distraction at Ennis Lobby to acquire his gang.
And Impel Down.
Or sorry, Impel Down. Yeah, and kind of like I said before, when he first started, when he acquires Shiryu, that he's like clearly selecting specific people to be a part of his crew, and is very specific about, you know, having a small group of strong allies instead of just like a ton of people. So he picks all the baddies in the jail.
I love San Juan Wolf. Oops, they know who I am. I love him hiding. Like he's just like, he's probably a monster, but he's just kind of adorable in his own way.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get his new members, San Juan Wolf, Avalo Pizarro, Vasco Shot, Katarina Devon, and Shiryu. So Shiryu is the one that we knew before. But yeah, the others are new faces that we haven't seen. And this also reveals to us how Luffy's group got through the Gates of Justice, because they just kind of showed up and the gates opened for them, and like, oh, that's convenient. So it turns out Blackbeard, his crew, got through by having Lafitte hypnotized with the Navy soldiers, and they were able to just let them through. And then Luffy's crew just kind of lucked out in that case.
The thing that really jumps out to me most in this chapter is that final confrontation between Newgate and Teach. Just the fact that at a certain point, it's not about the Devil Fruit powers. Like there's like, you know, the power scaling matchup thing of, oh, Teach can just negate the quakes, but at a certain point, this is just a drag out brawl between
Can't
father and
negate
son.
fist.
Yeah, exactly. Can't negate this blade, bitch. And just I don't know. It's just so I feel like there's an intentional contrast here between the way that Ace died to Sakazuki Fist, and I do think that if Sakazuki hadn't got the blow in on Whitebeard's face, that there's a chance that this wouldn't have gone down the same way between him and Blackbeard. But just the fact that we have this giant splash panel of the Blackbeard pirates just stabbing and shooting him, just this very direct, the results being very underhanded, but still very brutal and just low to the ground way to end the strongest man in the world. And it just feels so Blackbeard to me. And it's just a different kind of piracy that we haven't really focused on since the very, very early days of One Piece.
Yeah, and once like the moment that Teach realizes that he is outclassed, he calls for backup. So we've seen like like Luffy's respecting like Zoro's decision to fight, even if it means he dies. It's like letting them do their fights. Whereas like Blackbeard's like, oh no, I'm not going to win. All right, guys, let's gang up on this one guy. So it's very like underhanded in that way. And we've seen like pirates with like honor and some without. Blackbeard is one without honor. He doesn't respect those types of things, and he's not above putting himself like in an unfair situation. In fact, that he actually intentionally tries to do so. So yeah, the fact that he has to get his entire crew to gang up on Whitebeard to the point where they run out of bullets, and then Whitebeard is still standing after that. He's not dead yet. So so I think it also kind of shows like what Whitebeard is made of. But I do think kind of like what everyone was saying before, where like after he took the blow to the face, it didn't look good for Whitebeard from that point. But it was already not looking good for him to begin with, because even before the war, he's been pretty much like on like life support. He's been like hooked up to IV bags and had nurses and stuff, and like he had to like hold back on fighting for so long because he couldn't like overexert himself. And when he got into the fight, he started like, coughing up blood. So really, like I don't think Whitebeard, even like however this went, I don't think Whitebeard had much left in him at this point. And he just kind of used like the last of what he had to go all out. And I don't think there's a situation where Whitebeard actually expected to walk away from this. I think he went into this knowing this is where he was going to die.
Yeah, I guess the immediacy of it at this point is more so I think would have been the change factor. I also agree that he would not have made it out of the whole thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but yeah, like just impressive that he made it this much. Like
100%. I think also just the fact that Teach immediately not only calls for his friends to jump Whitebeard, which is I feel like also to a degree is like, hey, that is my thing. But the fact that he goes, oh, you're gonna kill your son? You're gonna kill me? You're gonna like bitch. Yeah. Bitch move.
Just the bitchest of bitch moves one can imagine.
You manipulative. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You cannot. You don't get that. Honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care if you jump him. I don't care if it's 8-on-1 or however many. Like that's honestly how this war goes at a certain point. But like, no, you can't. You have no emotional basis here at all. You loser.
Pathetic.
The pure opposite of Whitebeard, who like again going back to that last panel, like we see Whitebeard here. He's accepted his fate at this point, and he's not going to turn his back. Like you can see in that final panel, like he's not trying to swing back. He's not trying to turn and run. Like he's very much like holding his ground and has like accepted his fate. And then he's kind of like immortalized in that position, which is like, again, like so telling of like his character and who he is as a pirate.
Yeah, I think it just adds to like his legend, really.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the top 10 panels of the series in my mind.
Yeah, definitely up there.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, so some amazing stuff. Really epic and really hype moments so far. Whew. Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. Because there's more to go. Chapter 577, outrageous events one after another. News of what transpired at Marineford spread like wildfire. The man who was Roger's equal has died, though not without leaving an impact on the world and the events that will transpire. For now, Teach continues with the next phase of his plan, covering Whitebeard's body with a curtain and going under it. The rest of the pirates follow Whitebeard's final orders to retreat. Aokichi had frozen the ships in the bay, and Aki Inu erupts from underground, blocking their escape. Aki Inu demands that Jinbei hand Luffy over. Ivankov blasts the admiral with a wink. Blackbeard has emerged from the curtain, showing off the power of his dark fruit, followed by his new power of the Tremor fruit. The onlookers are confused as to how he took this power from Whitebeard, and how he can wield 2 devil fruits. Blackbeard declares that he is invincible, and this is now his era.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let Evan cook.
This is some shady business, y'all. Shady business.
Literally.
Yep.
Nice, but
Yeah, this is not good. Knowing that Blackbeard is able to somehow take devil fruit powers from others. He clearly wanted to hide how it happened, so there must be some sort of, I don't know. I'm not even gonna venture a guess on that one, but
shenanigans.
some shenanigans go down that he clearly doesn't want other people to see. But yeah, it's not looking good. Blackbeard, I feel like his power was already incredibly strong, and now he seems to have 2 of the most destructive powers that we've seen simultaneously, which is
one was bad enough.
terrifying. Yeah, pretty terrifying.
All we get from Marco is that his body is odd. Maybe that explains it. Which, okay, Marco. What does that mean? You just calling him fat? Because I don't think that's the secret to 2 devil fruits.
Yeah, body oddy.
Hey.
I knew there was something off about him.
I do love that in the final page of My Era Begins, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but Akainu just kind of looks slightly annoyed. He's like, this motherfucker, god damn it. Like he's not really worried. Like it looks like Sengoku is like freaked out, but Sakazuki is just like, oh, god damn it. He just looks slightly annoyed. And of course, Luffy remains catatonic.
So like, what the fuck did you just say? Your era? Excuse me?
I did all the work. And you come in and finish off Whitebeard and take all the credit.
Come on.
And you take his powers. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Whitebeard was saying that he had a show to put on for the world, and he was even saying this back in like Impel Down. He was going to put on a show. So he really did like make a show out of this whole thing, because we don't know exactly what he did, but he was trying to do like a magic trick. He's like, oh, you're not going to see what's going on behind this curtain. So whatever he did is unknown to us. And how he can wield 2 devil fruits is also something that we don't know.
Like, we got the explanation back in A's lobby. You eat 2, you explode.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's really the only point that's come up in the series was when Jabra said that like the devils inside will fight and then you would die. So is it like a rumor? Like, have people been too afraid to try to have more than one fruit? Like, what is that based off of? We don't really know. We just have Jabra's explanation, which doesn't seem to be very scientific as to the reason. Maybe like that's just their way of explaining it for something that's more technical. But it does seem to be common knowledge that people can't have more than one devil fruit, and yet now we have Blackbeard now seeming to break that. I'm not sure if it's also something that's unique to the dark fruit.
Yeah, that was kind of my first thought, but I don't know.
Me too. I think there is some stock to be. I mean, as I just based on this chapter, I think there is something to be. Some stock to be put into Marco's comment about it being Teach specific. How so? I think at this point it has been confirmed either in a data book or something. Marco is a doctor. Marco does So I think if anyone would understand that, it would be him. What there is to understand? But
We're also seeing like Teach's kind of planning and how he's kind of thinking things through ahead of time, and how he very specifically sought out that devil fruit. So like maybe this was all
true.
part of like his plan in some way, or he knows of a loophole or knows of some way. You know, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a very good point.
We'll see.
Yeah,
True. He had the encyclopedia.
he
No,
is
for real, like the little
yeah.
encyclopedia. Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, speaking to Teach real quick though, and I want to clarify a comment I made earlier about Teach being the Oda of evil plans, is the fact that he got everything he wanted. He got literally everything. He got the crew. He got to kill the strongest man in the world. He got the devil fruit of the strongest man in the world. He like the pieces are there for this to be his era, and it could have gone wrong in so many ways. It could have just not lined up in so many ways. He saw everything he wanted. He knew what the end goal was. He was like, there are these 5 different ways I could go about it. I could capture Luffy. I could capture Ace. I could infiltrate Impel Down. He didn't know that the chaos of the war would specifically cover his Impel Down breakthrough long enough, or that he would necessarily be able to find the right moment to kill Whitebird. He had an idea of how it would likely go and what he would need to do to get there, but there were so many little things that could have gone wrong for him, and that's just the exact same way Oda's telling the story. Like, you think of it as he has this mass way, he knows that everything's gonna go, but no, there's just so much improvisation and so much taking advantage of where these pieces are at a very specific moment that it's just one of those things that I think make Blackbeard, at this point in the story, such a very, very interesting villain and such a threat.
Yeah,
Where there's a will of D,
he's
there's a way.
Hey.
yeah, so he's all about the long game, and he has like that patience, and like you said, like he took the steps to put this plan into motion for years. Like the exact specifics might have been more improvised, and like he was pivoting, but he had like a general idea of what he was trying to do. He has his goals, and he has the means to take advantage of these opportunities to let them play out in the way that benefits him. So I do think that's a really great point. I feel like I never really saw it that way before, but now going through it, this time, he's such a calculating character, and it's really impressive how much he was able to orchestrate to really get what he wanted. And it doesn't matter how many people he has to like step on or walk over. And like even though like we're kind of like insulting him earlier about like having lack of honor and being like a despicable person, but like that's what he is, and he's not afraid to go as low as he can to get what he wants. Like he'll do anything really. He'll throw anybody under the bus if it means getting what he wants. Like he killed his crewmate for the devil fruit he wanted. So like that's just like the first thing that we know about like Blackbeard in the first place. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's such like an interesting character to have in the series, and those are the types of characters I do tend to gravitate more towards, like the calculating types, like Crocodile, for example. Like I like those like people that have like the the plans, and I think they're the more interesting villains. So yeah, I think Blackbeard falls in that boat.
And there's just such a great balance to him because, like, again, he is a D. He is like this. There's a freedom to the way he calculates, and it's I hate him so much, but I love to hate him, and that's what makes him such a wonderful villain.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's got the will of D. Like there's something about him. There's something about him.
You're completely right.
Hey, you guys have anything else for this one?
That's about it.
I think Buggy is continuing to fail upward. That's all I have to say. That's like, yeah, good for him.
Okay, moving on to chapter 578, A Gift for the New Era. While Marineford collapses, the world is terrified as to what Blackbeard's new power will bring. Before Blackbeard can sink the island, Sengoku uses his Devil Fruit powers to stop Blackbeard, declaring that justice will prevail and this island will not be sunk. Akainu was not stopped by Ivankov's attack and continues his pursuit of Luffy. Jinbei attempts to escape to the sea, which is unfortunately frozen. Akainu catches up, burning through Jinbei with magma, then dripping onto Luffy's chest. Jinbei is still determined to save Luffy despite Akainu telling him there's no hope. Surprisingly, Crocodile steps in, sending Jinbei and Luffy away with the sables, right into Buggy, who is in the middle of his mid-air retreat. Now caught up in the fight, Buggy is only concerned for his own safety, though his followers believe he was trying to be a hero. The remaining Whitebeard pirates stand up to Akainu, willing to sacrifice themselves to save Ace's little brother. Just when it seems there is nowhere for Buggy to escape to, a submarine emerges from the water. Trafalgar Law emerges, urging Buggy to leave Straw Hat to him, as he is a doctor.
Wow,
Okay.
wow.
So we got to start with Cody on this one.
My guy, Trafalgar Law,
Nice.
with the drip hat. We love him. I don't really have much to say about Law in this moment, just aside from the fact that he had a sick entrance, and it's very interesting that he is the one who came out here. This is one of the things where I don't think Oda necessarily had a plan for it to go down this way, but there was a popularity poll in Japan very soon after Sabaody. I want to say it was during Impel Down. Law was in the top 10. And he's shown for like 3 chapters at this point. We're like, so Drake, how many men did you kill? Or don't bother me, Eustace. And like that's all we had from this guy. And Japan was like, sold. He is our hipster king. We love him. Oda, when? And Oda said, I guess now. I guess he's gonna save the day. Cool. And I for one have no problem with this at all. But anyway, aside from my goat showing up here, wonderful. It's just how much can we milk the tension and just the desperation of this moment? Sengoku had a great moment. It's the same thing I liked about Hannibal's moment at the end of Impel Down. The fact that, hey, this didn't go the way anyone wanted, but we still stand for something. And Teach, shut the fuck up. How dare you? How dare you stand where he stood? Basically, yeah. No, it's oh yeah. And there's more, but I won't try and comment on everything all at once here. But there are many great moments in this chapter.
Yeah, we got the classic Croc Buggy combo to save Luffy. Didn't see that one coming.
Buggy should have.
Crocodile is by no means redeemed. Croc is by no means redeemed, but he has been a pretty powerful ally to Luffy since they reunited.
Sure seems like it. All is forgiven. He's totally fine.
He's also been kind of like the second MVP of this arc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jinbei and Croc, man.
It's like, hey, good thing we took those guys out of Impel Down when we did.
Yep. For real.
I just love what he says to Jinbei. If you're gonna protect something, do it right. Because like literally, like the guy who gave Crocodile the biggest loss of his life just died, which probably made all the feelings Crocodile has had about Whitebeard resurface in this moment. And I guess to him it's like this moment of, okay, my ambition, the reawakening of my ambition has been crushed a second time. Jinbei, do not fuck up the last good thing that could come of this. Get it right. I couldn't. The rest of us couldn't. You better. I love just any little bit of development for Crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Crocodile's really interesting in this point because his motives aren't super clear. Because Luffy also gave him one of the biggest losses of his life because he's the one that took away his power and messed up his plans. He had carefully put all this work into, and Luffy was the one that really took that down. So this could also be like his chance at revenge at Luffy. But for some reason, he's in here to help save Luffy. So yeah, his motives aren't super clear here, but you might have a point where maybe he's kind of like deferring to Luffy in a way. Like, I don't know.
I think you also make a good point about the fact that if he does want revenge against Luffy, he would want it on his own terms.
Could be that.
And so if he dies from mocking his wounds, then like that still doesn't work for Crocodile. That's still not how he wants it to go. So either way, this is the best move for him. Lots of potential explanations there.
Makes sense. I can see that. But Jinbei takes a pretty heavy hit here. Looks like there might be like a second ace going on, but Jinbei's still up and about.
Another
So
through and through.
Oh, sorry, Evan. I should.
Maybe it wasn't fully through, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was through enough to get to Luffy.
Yeah, Luffy's gonna feel that one in the morning.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah. Also, how about Buggy in this one?
Just his face. Just his face when he sees the giant lava fist heading for him. You know how much Oda had to be having the time of his life drawing that panel specifically.
Yeah, I just love like how his new followers will just like find a way to twist everything to be like he's the most amazing thing ever. So even when he's like doing like the most embarrassing thing, or like he's trying to save himself, I think he's being selfless, and like he's like this. There's like this just like worship going on over him. Yeah, I just think every time it happens, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like all of that is kind of out of his hands, right? Like he's kind of just what he's doing is independent of his outward, like how people are outwardly perceiving him. But in this moment, he is given an option. Like he physically has Luffy and Jinbei in his arms, and he could toss them to Akainu or Law, and chooses to throw them to Law, who has the sub and impeccable timing. First submarine ship we've seen. Things pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Notably not a coded ship, but a legitimate like submarine.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah, I think it's interesting that Law decided to go into the war, because like we saw everybody leaving at Sabaody when like it seemed like, okay, the show's over. Let's get out of here before things get worse. Law is the only one that decided, hey, I need more screen time. Let me get in on that. So he shows up in the middle of the war. So yeah, I think it's just very interesting of him to put himself in this situation. So pretty gutsy.
Yeah,
Pretty gutsy.
very, very curious as to why he decided to do this. Aside from you, camera time.
Okay, you guys get to move on to the last chapter for this episode.
Good to go.
Yep.
Finally, God, this volume sucks. Can we please get it over with?
Hoping it's about to get good.
What a slog.
Yeah.
Oda's
Picks
off
up.
days, huh?
Worst arc in One Piece.
I think this volume should have been called Outrageous Events One After Another. I think that would have been the appropriate title for the volume.
Yeah.
You kidding? I always do the same thing he does every volume. There's nothing new here at all.
All right, well, maybe this will change the trend. Chapter 579, A Few Seconds of Courage. While Law attempts to rescue Luffy and Jinbei, they are attacked by a Navy vessel as Navy soldier reinforcements arrive from underground to continue their assault on the Whitebeard and Blackbeard pirates. Teach plays around with his new powers, shifting the surrounding ocean around the island like Newgate had done earlier, though Teach is still getting used to his powers. An evacuation order is issued to Sabaody as waves are expected to reach them as well. The Navy and pacifistas relentlessly pursue the pirates, though Kobe is stopped in his tracks as he hears the voices in his head disappear one by one. The admirals continue their attack as well, with Kizaru now targeting Luffy. Buggy manages to toss Jinbei and Luffy aboard the Heart Pirates submarine. It doesn't seem they will be able to get away from the admiral in time, until everyone stops when they hear a shout that this is enough. Kobe has put himself in Akinu's way, showing that all this killing is a waste of human life. He pleads for the bloodshed to stop, as they have won. There is no need for more soldiers to die for this war. Kobe's words fall on deaf ears, as Aka Inu declares that Kobe is useless to the Navy if he won't serve justice. Before Aka Inu can kill Kobe, Shanks arrives, blocking the Magma Fist attack. Shanks commends Kobe, stating that those few seconds he bought will have a profound effect on the fate of this world. Shanks walks over and picks up the straw hat. He declares he has come to put an end to this war.
Emperor in the house.
One second. I need to make sure I don't clip my mic.
Let's fucking go, Shanks! Let's go! Let's go! Yeah! He did something! He's here! Let's go!
Finally.
I'm done. Just one of the most hype moments in the series. Oh my god.
I got chills on this one.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
good. We haven't seen Shanks really like in the present moment in a hot second.
Last time was after Enni's lobby.
Yeah, we saw him chatting with Whitebeard, right? That was the last
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And last we heard, he was in the New World fighting Kaido.
Yep. Wow, what an entrance.
As undeniably impressive as Shanks' entrance is, and it's awesome to see him here, this moment I think still belongs to Kobe for just
Agreed.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Agreed.
True,
standing in
true.
front of certain doom. And just this is like, yeah, I kind of laughed when Kobe gets one shot by Luffy earlier in the fight, but like this shows like, oh no, he's just as powerful and in the way of the heart that Luffy is in a lot of like, yeah, physically he's not there with Luffy yet. Maybe never will be. But I think he has the level of strength of heart and strength of humanity equal to Luffy's at this moment. Just to be like, I'm gonna die, but I said what I said. It's like the same thing with Alvida times 20.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
it's
he's not the character that couldn't stand up to Alvida.
Yeah. It's like
Sean's very well
a
changed.
parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a parallel to it, but it's like it shows the contrast of like how far he's come since then.
Right.
and we also get Fraud Beckman.
Whoa, Ben Beckman.
Beckman!
Oh.
Evan, this is a running joke, is that Ben Beckman shows up, acts threatening, and then never does anything, and a lot of people call him Fraud Beckman. And
I've actually never heard that.
Oh, it's a meme.
I haven't heard it either.
I love it.
Fraud,
I love
because
it.
he just because it's what he does. He's like, "Ooh, it's Ben Beckman. Are you gonna actually do anything?" No, I'm just gonna stand here holding a gun. It's like, okay. What's
You
your
know my
deal?
name.
Yeah, I like it.
He got Kizaru to stop in his tracks.
Yeah, which is like cool. Let's do something. Oh,
Yeah, they've come to put an end to the war, not escalate it.
it's true. It's true.
But I do want to talk about more of the Kobe moment because I just do think like the fact that Kobe is willing to like stand up for what he really believes in, even though it's like completely opposite of what Aki Inu believes. Like it's a completely different form of his justice. And again, Aki Inu is one of the people who's in charge of the Navy. He's one of the highest ranks. So Kobe pretty much is putting his life on the line because he saw Aki Inu straight up kill soldiers before for not wanting to fight. So he knows what could happen to him and what likely will happen to him if he does this. But I think it's also interesting to note that Tashigi and Smoker also are recognizing that things have gone out of control and this fighting is pointless. So like it's just like brutal at this point. So we've only seen like a few people from the Navy that seem to have that consciousness and that legitimately do want to do the right thing. So I think it's good to see that there are people in the Navy who are willing to have those thoughts and approach to their justice. So it's not like every single person in the Navy is the absolute worst. There's there's degrees of it, and there's different levels. It's a spectrum.
It is interesting because they are having like a, I don't want to call it a fully legitimate difference of opinions on what justice is, but there's a discussion to be had at the very least as far as what is justice truly. What does it prioritize? Does it prioritize the eradication of threats to society at large, or the preservation of the people who can put that fight up in a different setting, in a different level of stakes? This would be an actual conversation to be had. Just the fact that Sakazuki is being essentially a dictator about it is the thing that makes this moment so poignant for Kobe, but also does, I guess, really give so much color to the Marines as an organization, and just gives them so much development that I think that we've gotten a little bit of so far in One Piece, but I think this is one of the biggest examples of it within the organization.
Yeah, because we haven't really had like a war take place on screen in One Piece. And I don't want to get into too much, but I do think that there's like something to be said about real life applications as well. And I think there's something that you can kind of draw parallels from this to what's currently happening in the world, where it's like how much bloodshed is really needed, like where do you draw the line? So I think there's a statement being made here, where this is a fictional story, and for the most part it's a fun thing, but I do like when we can look at the story and look at what's being said and what messages are being presented here, and what can we get out of this, and how can we apply this to real life. So I think Oda does a good job of touching upon some of these very serious topics, and I think he has very poignant ways of expressing him within the context of the story. So I really respect Oda for some of these things that he does touch upon. So I think One Piece has a lot of nuance in what topics it chooses to touch upon to some degree. I'm saying Oda's like a master of like all these topics, but I think it's just very interesting that he's willing to go to these places. And I really respect the storytelling for part of that reason as well.
I think the one thing for me is that beyond even just presenting two sides of a conflict is that regardless of which side of that you are, and I'm not putting myself on, I didn't want to put myself on Sakazuki's side or anything, but like that. But the thing to me is that it's about the agency that each individual Marine has. Whether Kobe is allowed to say his piece about this, whether the one Marine, it's a scene with I believe Doberman is his name, the one with all the little X-shaped
The
scars on his
scars.
face. Yeah, it says no, leave him behind. Do not pick your friend back up. We have a war to fight. Like that is the central conflict here, and I think that regardless of the thing that's so great about this and what makes One Piece truly art for me is the fact that yes, there is a real life application to it. There is something that you can apply universally, but the specifics of that kind of moment, regardless of what setting you yourself are in, whether it is about, hey, am I able to do this? And whether someone has the choice to, I think is what just sets it apart. Regardless of fictional real life, the fact that it's just such a human emotion and a human thing to go through. I think that is masterful, personally.
Yeah, because like we're getting into like individuals, and like you said, their agency in a war. Because like I think sometimes it can be like when you talk about like a war setting, like I don't, it's not anything that we've experienced personally, but it's like a horrific thing to have to live through. And at the end of the day, it's individuals who are on the ground fighting and living through that. And I think it's important to recognize like the humanity of these people. Like they're soldiers, but they're people first.
Mm-hmm.
And Aki Inu in the story is saying you're a soldier above anything else. So you're expendable. Do your job.
Yeah, maybe that's. Hope I didn't derail too much of my tirade there. I
want to go into it. So.
I'd like to say something in the similar Just topic of page count, I think, that we're specifically looking at here in a way. The spread of Sakazuki on top screaming, "Do not," particularly him, "Do not destroy evil, destroy the pirates," and then Blackbeard on the bottom with like, "I'll just swallow up everything." Particularly though, the Sakazuki panel is, I think, the scariest panel in all of One Piece to this date. Scarier than any zombie we saw in Thriller Bark, scarier than anything. You could, I guess, the closest I could say is like the slavery, but in terms of like the slavery in Shibodi is also like is gutturally horrifying, but in terms of like this scares me directly and like a ooh way. That image of Sakazuki screaming over this burning body of somebody and just saying, "Keep burning them. We're not stopping. Keep killing everyone," is the scariest thing in One Piece to me in a lot of ways. It's just unfettered, unrestrained bloodlust.
Yeah, and to keep going with that, the line that also shares that panel is, "This victory has only whetted their appetites," which is kind of coming off the thoughts of Tashigi and Smoker,
Mm.
you know, who are part of the Navy, and they're having this realization. Yeah, pretty terrifying. I agree with you. We also know exactly what Aki Inu is capable of and how incredibly powerful he is.
Yeah, it's not an empty threat. Like
It's not an empty threat.
Like he means what he says.
Yeah, and going back through this, I'm actually now remembering the moment where Kobe says, "The voices in my head, they're disappearing one by one."
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. So, Evan, do you have any idea what he means by that?
I was going to that was a question I was going to bring up, is how you guys interpreted that, because I wasn't quite sure how to interpret it upon like my first read through, and I wasn't sure if it was like his own voice of like voices of doubt, or if it had to do with the lives being lost in the current war that's going on around him. I wasn't quite sure how to interpret it, to be honest.
So the way I'm reading it was, I think this is a direct callback to Skypiea. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So was it Aisha?
I say
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, Isa.
Isa.
Yeah. Where yeah. So she was saying how like she could hear the voices like disappearing like during the game.
Right.
So it seems Kobe is using the same technique,
Mantra.
which we referred to
Yeah,
as mantra
mantra.
back in Skypiea, but we've also started to make a connection with mantra and hockey.
That's awesome.
And we did have another hockey mention in this volume. I'm not sure if we mentioned when right after Ace died and Marco and Vista go up to, they attack him and he says, "Oh, you hockey users are such a pain." So what's going on here?
Yeah.
What's up, Oda?
Yep.
What's going on?
So yeah, I just thought that was a little interesting detail that we're seeing Kobe of all characters using this thing that we now seem to know as hockey.
Yep.
Hmm.
Kobe's put his imprint on this war. It's pretty cool seeing how far Kobe has come.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just love Shanks, his reaction to what Kobe did. So he's like, you might not realize it, but you just made like a massive impact on the fate of the world, not just the war, the world. So Shanks is recognizing how pivotal that moment was for Kobe and the whole world.
And aligning himself with Kobe too, who is a naval officer.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Really good point.
Yeah.
He decides to protect one of the people from the Navy. So he could have let Kobe just get killed. He's like, oh yeah, just one less Navy soldier. No, Shanks is like, I'm gonna protect this brave boy who did a courageous thing.
Oh man, I can't wait for more Shanks.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna leave this volume. Yeah, did you guys have any closing thoughts for that chapter or the volume as a whole?
I'd forgotten what a great villain Sakazuki was, as well as Blackbeard. That's just, yeah. He hits different 10 years later. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, those are some of the more heartbreaking chapters we've read so far, and it kind of gets lost in the chaos of war too. Like it's all happening so quickly. You're not really given time to like mourn and process. Like I said before, like I was like holding on for hope until like I was still holding on to hope when like Whitebeard went down. I was still like hoping that Ace was like going to come back or something like that. Like I feel like their bodies weren't even recovered. Like they were killed in battle, and everyone's like running for their life. Like in the chaos of war, everyone's like running for their lives or fighting for their lives, and it all happened so quickly that it's like kind of difficult to like process it in that moment. But definitely some like the heaviest, most chaotic chapters we've read to date.
It's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best and the most impactful. It's yeah. I'll have more to say once we complete the volume and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're very close to the end of the arc.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will be wrapping up Marineford and doing our ranking for next episode. So we can go into more details and get our final thoughts overall. But like before we really got into this, I was saying like I think this might be like one of like the craziest set of chapters we've discussed on the podcast. Like pretty much like any one of these chapters could have been like super crazy, but like together collectively, it's just like it adds to the insanity. Like I was saying earlier, like it's just like like outrageous events one after another would have been like a perfect title for this volume. There's just so many crazy things that happen in this part of the arc, but the arc as a whole has been really crazy and very impactful for not only the series so far, but I think what the series could potentially do going forward. I think this is a defining moment for the series, and I'm very excited to get into the rankings next week so we can really talk about that a little bit more. But this one I think kind of takes One Piece and like, takes everything and be like, all right, we're going to change that. We're going to throw all that out the window. We're going to change like how the story is being presented.
I mean, we've been building up to this moment for so long, and I never would have guessed this to be like the climax of this war,
Yeah.
Like, and we knew it was going to be like a pivotal moment, no matter what the outcome was. Like we've been talking about it for months. It's just like, whatever happens, this is going to change the world of One Piece forever. And I certainly was not expecting Ace to die, and it was also not expecting 2 chapters later for Whitebeard to die. Like that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Not the outcome I was expecting or hoping for. But yeah, like you said, an incredible story that I'm like now dying to finish. Like I've got to like get through it. Like I need to know what happens next.
Yeah. Well, there's more to come. But for now, that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We Are Reading One Piece podcast at buzzsprout.com or on the YouTube channel at We Are Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel to where we record the podcast, so if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for more One Piece content. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at wearereadingonepece@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from listeners, so if you're enjoying the show, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, let us know. Next episode, we'll be finishing Volume 59, The Death of Portgas Diaz. I've been Joel, and I've been joined by Sean.
This has been Sean.
Evan.
Thanks for listening.
And Cody.
The One Piece is real.
You beat me to it, you son of a...
I was going to say
You literally had the chance to say before me. You were literally the second one to say their thing.
I know, but I was waiting to the end bit. It's fine. It's whatever.
You knew I was going to do it. You knew I was going to. Buddy.
All right. Well, be sure to bring along all your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.
The One Piece is real!